Welcome back, Knight Brothers Commentary. We are ready to rock and roll. Trying to stay away from getting blinded here. We've got our studio lights in place, which Matt hates. As far as tonight or today and what we're going to cover, Matt, I'll let you kind of kick it off here on new military ranking and promotion system.
Yeah, so basically...
You have a grin on your face. So I'm already curious as to what this is going to entail.
Because for me, I would say when it comes to the military ranking system that they currently have, I think it's a little, shall we say, disincentivizing.
Disincentivizing the way people get ranked.
Well, not necessarily. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is when it comes to the rankings, I mean, there's a lot of things that I really don't think really works.
Okay.
So let's say you're joining the Air Force with a college degree. You're enlisting with a college degree. So essentially, if you're in the original system, basically you could join no higher than an E3, which is Airman First Class. Okay. But with the Army, you could actually join as a specialist, which is this one here. So what I did was to try to expand some of the promotion systems, like the early promotion systems that you could enlist at a higher rank to all the other branches.
Okay.
And the reason why I did that is try to make it a little bit easier for recruiters to actually kind of get more recruiters.
So let's circle back to the first word. That was a good contextual way to say it's not disincentivizing you. You're trying to create more incentive for more people to look at the military as a career opportunity.
Absolutely.
So that college graduates say, you know what? I may take interest in a career in the military because I'm able to achieve a status upon entering that would be higher than a level 3.
Yeah. So actually, kind of building off of that, for someone who's been around the military for a while, you're probably going to know what I'm talking about. But for someone who hasn't, let me explain. Essentially, what the Army used to do, from like back in the early 50s to I think the mid 80s, was they actually had a system of higher enlisted ranks that were not necessarily NCOs or non-commissioned officers. So essentially, they got paid at the same rate as those NCOs, but not have any of the NCO responsibilities.
Okay. So
what I did was I actually tried to make applying for warrant officers a little bit easier. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to expand the warrant officer ranks to the point where it's at least somewhat similar to those senior specialist ranks.
Okay.
So for those who don't know what a warrant officer is, it's essentially just someone who has a lot of experience within their given field, but doesn't necessarily have the same responsibilities as an NCO or a commissioned officer.
Okay.
So basically, I would say when it comes to like the early promotions, which is basically kind of like going from E1 to E2 and then E2 to E3 and then E3 to E4, at least in my system, not necessarily the current system. Yeah. It's basically decentralized. So essentially the unit of the company commander is the promotion authority.
Okay.
So basically there's no quotas on promotions from E2 to E4 specialists and technicians.
It's at the discretion of the person.
Yeah, because what the Army does now, and what I've actually expanded to the other branches, is the Army actually has 2 E4 ranks.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, the lower rank, the one that doesn't really have a whole lot of like leadership responsibilities, is the specialist. Okay. And that's the one that you would typically go to from a private first class. And then you get laterally promoted to corporal.
Okay.
So basically, I just extended that to every single branch of the military. But I decided to call them technicians for the Marine Corps and the Air Force instead of specialists. But it's technically the same rank and technically the same thing. So basically, you would get paid at the if you were being like a senior airman or corporal.
Yeah.
but you won't have any of the leadership responsibilities.
Okay.
So if that makes sense.
Well, it does, because you could have somebody come in
Yeah.
with a experience or a degree or certification from an outside field who is just looking to specialize in an area, not necessarily be responsible for those other decisions that might come along with it, that might favor someone or might be better suited for someone with experience in the military.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, there's just a lot of people who aren't really suited to leadership.
Yeah.
And they may feel that joining the military may not necessarily be the best fit for them.
Right.
If they don't necessarily have the opportunity to really kind of grow and expand their skills. Because not only do you have to be a specialist, but you also have a lot of leadership responsibilities once you get promoted to an NCO. So, and a lot of people just aren't, like I literally just said, are not really suited to leadership. So
this is a way to bridge that gap, to take advantage of their talents and their specializations without overextending them in something that they may not desire to do.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, the Army, well, actually pretty much all branches of the military have essentially what's called an up and out policy.
Okay.
And this is kind of where the warrant officer ranks comes in. So basically, when it comes to the up and out policy, essentially what that means is you have a certain amount of time before you have to either promote or get.
Well, I mean, I think people are you either promote them up through the ranks or you promote them out of the organization.
Yeah.
That's a very common practice, I think, for it sounds like both military and just general business practice.
Well, I'm not sure if that's really true for a lot of businesses, maybe back in the day, but
it is for some. I mean,
maybe for some. I really don't know, but
I'm just telling you, I'm familiar with it, and I don't have a military background at all.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, you have about 8. So if you want to promote from an E3 to an E4 specialist technician, you have 10 years from the date you were sworn into the military. Okay. Otherwise, you're forced out. But so basically, if you start like straight from high school, essentially you're probably going to be promoted to E2. I think within So basically, you got at least 6 months before you get promoted to E2. I mean, that's typically the standard. And then from E3, you basically have at least 10 months as an E2, not necessarily E1.
Yeah.
So you basically have like a crap ton of time to really kind of promote to work your way up.
12 years almost.
Yeah. I mean, which is probably more than enough. So basically, if you don't make it to corporal or the other NCO ranks by 12 years in the service, basically you will essentially have about 4 options that I created. Okay. Which is either A, apply to become a commissioned officer within any other branch, including your current branch. Okay. Or apply to become a warrant officer, or re-enlist into a different branch of the military, but at the current rank you are now. Okay. Or just be separated from the military altogether. Okay. Because when it comes to E4 promotions, like for corporals and beyond, these are going to be a little bit more competitive. Yeah. So for someone, if you want to be promoted to a corporal or senior airman or petty officer 3rd class, depending on what branch you're in, there has to be a vacancy. So like, let's say if an E9 retires in a certain MOS, that MOS has an opening that an E8 can be promoted into. So basically, you just kind of have to go through like a board.
So for an open E9, you have to be an E8 to apply?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Which is, that's how it is now, and I think that's how it should be, because, why should you promote an E3 all the way up to E9 when there's just no way they're ready for any kind of leadership responsibilities? Yeah, but essentially, you have to be placed on a recommended list based on a certain amount of administrative points and board points that you can earn, basically by going through a board and just interviewing with them, kind of having them ask you some questions about your personality and world knowledge and all that,
Mm-hmm.
and also just kind of going through like some education, like some training. Like if you wanted to like go to ranger school, not RASP. There's RASP is a different thing than ranger school, but. Or if you are going to college and actually getting your degree while serving in the military, you can get points for that.
Oh, okay.
Which can help you on the way to getting a promotion.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, the military promotion system is way too complicated to kind of get into one video.
Yeah.
Or
And by this system being applied, because this is again a proposed way of doing things,
not the way it is now.
Not the way it is now. I want to make sure that the viewers are clear of that, because we're just talking about ways to. What I was getting at is streamline or make something more efficient.
Yeah.
Bring a little bit more common sense to address the problem of, as we've talked about
Not
on
only
previous.
basically address the problem of not only recruiting more members, but also retaining them.
Yeah.
Because given the way the economy is kind of going right now, which for us is actually doing pretty good. I mean, whenever you're viewing this, it could be either doing even better or way worse.
It's been pretty good the last couple of years.
Yeah, so which makes it really hard on the military to actually recruit anyone, because it's like, well, if I have a college degree, like, why should I settle for making less money when I can actually make more money in the civilian world?
Well, you know, and I've never been in the military, but we have some friends and family in the military. Yeah. You know, there is, yes, the money may not be as competitive, but that's...
Especially with the enlisted ranks. I mean, with the officer ranks, it's probably a little bit better.
But in a lot of cases, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, listen, it's a challenging life. You have to be flexible in terms of where you live. You can be deployed depending upon your rank at any time. But they typically are living either on a military base or their housing is being, taken care of. So their living expenses in the military are not what they would be as a civilian.
That is true.
And so they're able to save some more of their income.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons, but I think the bottom line is, we talked about this on a previous podcast, I think we said last year we did not meet our recruiting minimums.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the Army didn't. I think the Navy did.
Okay.
I'm not sure if... I know the Army didn't. I think the Marine Corps did. Maybe the Air Force did. I don't know. I mean, the Marines are typically the smallest branch aside from the Coast Guard, so I mean, it's probably easier for them to be a little bit more selective.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like the Army and the Navy and maybe even the Air Force, I mean, they don't necessarily have the same restrictions in that regard.
Yeah.
Because especially for the Navy, because I was just reading something a little bit earlier today, even though it was a little dated, that President Trump wants to increase the size of the fleet from like 200 and something ships to like over 300 by probably the end of next year.
Oh, wow.
I mean, by all means, correct me if I'm wrong. If you know better, please leave it down in the comments. But but going back to that point, I mean, the Navy is going to be in a tight spot when it comes to recruiting more members, because with all those because in order
those fleets have to be manned.
Yeah. So it's just like, oh, great.
Well, this ought to help. I mean, I think this is a great system to try and attract and incentivize people to look at the military as a long-term career path, whether you've joined it out of high school, whether you're a college, college graduate, or somebody who maybe has been out of school, out of college for a couple of years and still hasn't found, their dream job, so to speak.
So essentially just to kind of hope, I mean, just try to help recruiters, like, just find more eligible people.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great.
Yeah. So hopefully, I mean that's basically it. So I would say, other than that, I really don't have much to go on.
No, listen, we're going to attach this to the posting of the video, so you'll be able to take a look at the proposed military ranking and promotion system that Matt's outlined here, that we've discussed. Questions, comments, feedback, please leave it in the comments section, and we'll be back here soon enough bringing you another video of Knight Brothers Commentary.
All right.
We're out.